After his brutal encounter with the new supervillain Hellgate, the wall crawler has changed. But no one, not his closest friends, his new allies, or most hated enemies, seem to know why. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 10 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so I skipped this bit in the previous issue because it seemed like background flavor and not something that was going to actually come back and be important later, but now I feel like I'm pretty wrong. In a flashback, we see young Peter and Aunt May going shopping in a department store. Peter sneaks away to play in the stacks like kids do, but he ends up having a very creepy, very Jordan Peele Us moment wherein he disassociates by looking at a mirror. Keep that in mind because it will probably end up being important later. Now, back in the present, we see Spider-Man taking the fight to Shocker and his Aftershocks gang. Well, I say Spider-Man, but as everyone and their mother was sure to remind me in the previous video, actually, Joel, it's Ben. Don't you see his web shooters? Everyone on Reddit is already saying it, and indeed they were. And yeah, they sure do look like Ben's, and it would explain a lot about Peter's behavior in the previous issue. I know I do this stupid thing called reading the book and hoping that it can all stand on its own. And while I certainly don't blame anyone for trying to correct me in the comments section, I do think it speaks volumes about where the Amazing Spider-Man book is right now. Even when it has incrementally improved, most fans seem actually disinterested by what's actually going on in the story and instead would rather theory craft and get ahead of what's actually going on. But I digress. This new mystery Spider-Man is a lot more brutal and unhinged than any Spider-Man we've ever seen before. His eyes even having a sinister red tint to them that I didn't quite notice before. He's almost just as rough to Captain Kintsugi, the guy he stepped on in to save, as he is with the Shocker's crew. Furthermore, his webs aren't regular webs, they're stronger than ever before. They take more time to dissolve now, and apparently he can even impale his enemies with them. That kind of sounds like Silk Steel, that stuff that Hellgate was going on about, doesn't it? Spider-Man's new violent reign of terror on the New York underworld has become so well publicized, even J. Jonah Jameson has taken to calling him a menace again. Well, okay, he doesn't actually say the big M word, but it's pretty obvious that's where he was going. Which, goddamn, JJ, I thought you and Peter were friends. I thought you were in a good place. I know he kind of ghosted everyone, but you didn't bother to reach out to him before you decided to put him on blast for your podcast? Some friend you turned out to be, and yeah, I know it's obviously not the real Spider-Man, but still, he had no way of knowing that. Now, obviously, because Shocker and the Aftershocks work for Tombstone, their problems become his. The new Kingpin of Crime, as he's done several times before, tracks down Peter Parker and corners him, hoping that he'll carry a message to the wall crawler. But this is where things actually end up getting really interesting. You see, Peter refuses to play errand boy for Tombstone anymore and actually ends up beating up one of his henchmen just to show how serious he is. Which is wild because we never see Peter use his Spider-Man strength this outwardly before, and also he knows full well that doing this is painting a massive gangland target on his back like never before. Even Black Cat is stalking Peter to try and look up on him, and she's shocked to see his current behavior. Behavior that also ends up extending to work too. You see, Peter's actually being really successful at the moment. His own projects are getting noticed by the boss, and he's so confident he's given Brian pointers on his brand new mushroom project. Hey, did you know the whole building with mushroom stuff, that's actually real, not made up science fiction? The problem is maybe for the first time in his whole life, Peter is actually acting too confident, belittling Brian and his work in front of the boss in a way that he normally never would. Also, while Peter is ghosting his friends and family, he's clearly talking to someone, because on his way home before he ends up getting attacked by a vengeful Shocker, it seemed that he was making dinner plans. Speaking of Shocker, it seems that Schultz was dispatched by Tombstone to end Parker's life for the public disrespect he showed him earlier on. Thankfully though, Peter has a guardian angel in the form of Felicia Hardy, or Guardian Cat as the case may be. She manages to get Shocker off his case, and seemingly giving Peter enough time to sneak away and suit up again. The amazingly aggro Spider-Man thrashes Shocker and is implied to have maybe done even more if Felicia wasn't there to try and stop him. Of course, all of this ends up begging the big question, and that is, why is Spider-Man and Peter Parker acting so weird recently? Why are they acting so out of character? In his internal monologue, Spidey talks about how freeing it is to sit in the darkness and lose sight of one's boundaries, and that when those boundaries disappear, you can reform yourself as anything. It's at that moment too Spider-Man shows his disdain for Tombstone by dropping Shocker off through his office window, sending a very strong message that whatever relationship Tombstone thinks they have, they don't anymore. In doing so, wiping wiping away yet another vestige of the Wells era. Now that's all pretty nuts, right? But as the comic comes to a close, Joe Kelly and the book really end up pulling out the big guns. You see, Spider-Man takes a minute to rest on the roof, only to be confronted by Peter Parker. Peter says what all the other readers have already basically figured out one way or another, and that is, hey, sinister guy with red eyes, you're not Spider-Man, only for fake Spider-Man to turn around and say, yeah, but you're not Peter Parker. Oh. And so that was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 10, everybody, and you know what, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I actually really ended up liking it. That last page reveal really made me sit forward and take notice. I kind of love the idea that everyone already either jumped to the conclusion or assumed that that Spider-Man was fake because of the web shooters, but I know I personally never thought that there could actually be two fakes running around. It actually ends up really recoloring and retextualizing everything that's come before in the previous issue in a way that I was simply just not expecting. It also makes a lot of the arguments and heated words from the previous video's comment section seem extra silly in retrospect. Another great reminder why we shouldn't take this stuff too seriously. Apparently, issue 11 is going to be setting up the whole big brand new status quo for one Spider-Man fighting crime on Earth and another Spider-Man fighting crime in space, which is a hell of a pitch, one that could still go either way at this point, but you know what, seeing how they've set it up, I am actually more interested than I was previously. If only because I'm dying to know how they're going to try and square this whole circle of a fake Spider-Man, but also a fake Peter. Like, if it's Ben and Joe Kelly actually wants to buckle down and do the work to try and redeem his character and undo the damage of the last couple runs, hey, more power to him. And if it's not, and if we're going in a whole other direction, that might even be more compelling. Let's just say I'm cautiously optimistic, something I haven't actually been in a while when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man, and even if all that other stuff wasn't true, this was still actually a pretty fun issue. I love the use of Shocker. I love that Joe Kelly has actually gone out of his way to make Peter's supporting cast actually feel interesting and important and have stuff to do again. No, none of this is particularly new or fresh or breaking the mold or anything, but hey, it's a pretty solid version of stuff we all liked before, and at this point in Spider-Man, I think that's a good thing, or at least better than what we had before, which is why I would give this one a 7 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.